Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Buzz with Heather and Sean. I'm Heather Smockum. I'm my partner, Sean Beharry. And last week we were chatting about leadership and what it means to be a good leader with Laura Fischeri. But along with that came the thoughts about consulting. So we can lead from any chair, consultants, we feel are leaders, hence there's a great tie in here. So I wanted to ask Sean what makes a valuable consultant and what that means.
That's a great topic. And hello, everybody. Yeah, Heather, I agree with you 100%. I think when I think about a great consultant, it's somebody who can come in, hit the ground running, even though they don't fully understand my business, but they bring that critical thinking, strategic lens to the job, and they're able to then investigate, do the analysis, and to then provide their thought leadership in terms of what my issues are currently, meaning whether or not I'm operating efficiently, not efficiently, if there are strategic opportunities that I should be focused on. Those are the types of things that I think will make a really good consultant. And the folks who are able to do that, those are the ones who outshine the others who come in and need to be trained on how to do the job.
Yeah. So somebody really who can zoom out and be able to connect the dots and see the inner workings of how things are or are not working versus just coming in and executing on a task like in a job.
Even if you're a full-time employee and your job is to be a business analyst or a project leader or a product owner, you still need that ability to zoom out, think strategically, and then zoom in to determine what the key issues are, where there's opportunity for improvement. It could be in missing documentation, missing standard operating procedures. It could be in market analysis. It could be in a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But that ability to do that, zooming out and zooming back in, and then tying it all together, that is something that is really critical and really valuable. That's what separates the cream from the rest of the crowd, right?
Right. So, what are the key things as a consultant you would recommend folks come in and look at? Because I like to have the business knowledge. I do find that helps me, but I know there's lots of folks that come in and just overall do an assessment. So, what are some of those key things you would say? I like that you said, sorry, you did say SOPs, looking at, do we have KPIs? Do we have metrics we're tracking? You got to look at the data. But some of those organizations or businesses don't have any of that stuff in place, right? So then as a consultant, we have a more challenging role. So can you talk about that piece a little bit?
Whether or not you have industry experience, I think there's an opportunity anyways. And for those that have the industry experience, you're a step ahead of the pack in terms of you don't have to do the same amount of research. But if you don't have any experience with the organization or with the industry, or even on the topic that's being discussed, this is a prime example where you can go out and use research tools like Google, Gemini, ChatGPT. There are a bunch of tools now that you don't have to be the expert going into a conversation or going into a new engagement. You can do your homework. In fact, that would better prepare you. So, first step, if you will, is do some homework,
Mhm.
right? To understand the industry, to understand the company, then do your investigation. Speak to the person bringing you on board in terms of why are you being brought on board? What is the engagement? What do they hope to come out of this with? What do they believe the pain points to be? And then get a list of strategic internal partners, stakeholders that you can have those conversations with. So, research, investigation, then you do some analysis in terms of what does this all mean? If your research tells you that the best in the business do it this way, X, Y, Z, and this company is doing it differently, maybe you can form a correlation between the two and then say, well, listen, best practice is this. You're here. This is the gap we need to fill. And here are the recommendations for how to fill it.
Yes.
That to me helps really put together a bit of a framework that really helps to make it clear, make it easy.
Yeah.
Because if you make it so complicated, you're gonna lose the audience anyways.
Yes. And I love that. I think, for myself coming into an organization, I'm working with smaller businesses, but it's exactly the same, right? Doing an assessment to say, okay, what do you have in place and what do you want to achieve? And how are we going to help you get there? And then doing the analysis by sometimes it's as simple for my clients as we need that project management tool in place because we need to assess who's doing what when, and we don't have visibility to that. Some of times it's just let's get your Google Drives in order because they're a mess and nobody knows where to look for things, right? So sometimes from a smaller business perspective, just going in and making those simple recommendations are really going to make a big impact on the business. I love the idea of a consultant because we can be doing $1 million projects or we can be doing smaller projects, but they're all going to have an impact. But to your point, like, how do we show that impact? So, how do we as consultants really make sure we're delivering? And what does a good delivery look like for a consultant?
So a good delivery pretty much is, can you tell the story? And can you provide actionable insights that the company can then use? Right? So you've done the research, you've done the investigation, and you've done the analysis. The value then comes in the output.
Yes.
Can you play that back to ensure that one, you understood what the problem was correctly? So, what are you trying to solve for? Two, that you did the necessary research, both internally and market research where available, to be able to make sure that you're not just talking out of left field, but that there's some substance behind it. And that you've done the analysis in terms of what are the potential opportunities that exist. And along with that is, have you been able to work with the business stakeholders in prioritizing those?
Yeah.
Because you can't do everything. You may not be able to do everything, right? The company may only have a limited budget. So if you're able to say, I can play back your problem, I can play back the opportunity, and we can talk about options available and the order in which they would make most sense to approach them, and come up with an action plan for that.
Mhm.
I mean, each one will have its own amount of detail and its own specific activities to get you there.
Mhm.
But if you can start with building that roadmap out, that starts to make sure that one, you're on the same page with the organization that brought you in. People can buy into that. And once you have that, then you can work through the details.
Right.
And then knowing how to work through the details is also part of it. But if
Right.
you want to show value, that's what it is. It's bringing that leadership mindset back into the engagement.
Yes. Yeah. Something that stood out to me there was, you're partnering with the business, right? You're partnering with the organization because yeah, you can't work in a silo because you need their input, you need their insights, you need their team to support you to execute it because chances are we're not executing it, right? So it is like a change management piece to your point. They need to get on board. They need to understand why they need it. They need to have the right resources to be able to support that change. And really, you as a consultant are managing all of that. What do I need? What kind of time do I need? What team members do I have working within the constraints that the business has provided to you? So I think that partnership piece is key along with the leadership.
100%.
Yeah.
I can tell you one of the key frustrations I had in my old job was sometimes you would bring somebody who is a senior project manager or a project leader in, and at the end of the day, they're looking to you to give them their instructions almost daily. Any problem they would bring to you to solve for them.
Mhm.
And when you're bringing in more senior or seasoned consultants into the job, you're not looking to handhold them and teach them how to do their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite phrase was, listen, I'm looking for a hired gun.
Mhm.
That means you know how to do this. I don't have to teach you how to do it. You can hit the ground running as soon as possible and bring all of that experience that you've gained in the field and apply it to my business so that you move that forward for me. That's why I'm paying you a higher rate that I sometimes pay my existing employees.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, there's a point there around you can't know it all, but you're coming in with the experience. But I like that you said earlier, industry experience is sometimes very valuable. Coming in with industry experience, I know you said it's not key, but if you have that, you can definitely hit the ground a little bit more running sometimes than otherwise. But I love that you said research. And that's so right. I can do the job. I have the skills, but it's also a mindset piece. You're coming in with the mindset of a leader. You're coming in with the mindset of, okay, I know I need to assess A, B, and C. You just have that curiosity mindset as well, that I think is key. So maybe that language of curiosity is key for curious consultants. Maybe
I
that's
was I was actually going to go back to that because that is exactly it. So thank you for bringing up or going back to industry knowledge versus not industry knowledge. Industry knowledge can help you hit the ground running faster, 100%. Industry knowledge could also become a bit of a blinder for you
yes.
because you think you know it all, and so you're not being curious. You've already got a preconceived notion of how this should work. So
Yes.
you're not back testing any hypotheses or any of those types of things.
Yep.
And this is where sometimes going in without that, I don't know the industry, I'll ask the stupid questions. They're actually more valuable than the person who goes in thinking, well, I know this. I'm just going to tell you what you need to know.
Mhm.
You talked about having stakeholder engagement. If people feel that they were part of the discovery, the investigation, the analysis, and they contributed to what that future plan is going to be, they're going to be more engaged in making that come true and be more satisfied in the benefits that come in. The change management aspect of it is going to be easier.
Yes.
So even if you have industry knowledge, that curiosity, because you don't know this particular business,
Mhm.
you don't know this particular leader, you don't know this particular stakeholder,
Yeah.
having that curiosity and understanding what their pain points are and what their vision of success is and getting everybody to rally around that, that is where the secret sauce lies.
I agree. I have one client, and just recently, we are starting to have team meetings. And to me, just having a team meeting shows that exact thing. The leader is sharing their vision or sharing what's going on within the business, even just shooting the crap, having a conversation with your team to see where are you at, where are the challenges. So as long as we're on board with that vision as consultants, we understand where they're going. I do think that very much helps us being successful, but we have to leverage that team too, right? That
You
team
do,
has all the
absolutely.
knowledge, right? So you can't be necessarily picking the brain of your CEO all the time. So let's pick the brain of the teams to see
Mhm.
how else we can get data or what else we can learn from them, right? Yeah.
Remember, the teams have to live with whatever we come up with going forward.
Yep.
So excluding the team and trying to come up with a solution that we think is going to work and that maybe the leader thinks is going to work, but practically is going to cause problems for the team, that's not value either,
Yes.
right? That's disruption and chaos. So
And this is some of the things that we often see in corporate is let's execute it this way because it works for us. But this is often the challenge when you get down to the people actually executing the work saying, this doesn't work for us. I was in Walmart the other day and they said they revamped their entire system. Everybody got a new system. And she's like, yeah, now we can't put in 3 times something. We have to scan it 3 times. And I'm sure up at the chain, there's a reason for that from a, theft perspective or whatever. But she's like, it takes us that much longer when somebody's got,
mhm.
20 cans of dog food and I have to scan each one. So do you want us to be efficient or do you want to prevent loss? So it was really interesting how she saw the new system versus how I'm sure somebody thought it should be working.
And therein lies a very good conversation that leadership needs to have. When you get that feedback, because upfront you can use a design thinking approach.
Mhm.
So what you do is you go in and say, okay, today we scan one, we times it times by 20, away you go. The risk is that nobody really knows whether it's 20 or 25 or 15 even.
Yeah.
So that's a risk. The alternate solution is to scan each one individually But if you're doing 20 items, you now have to scan 20 items, which
Yep.
means a little bit more time or loss of productivity potentially.
Mhm.
And there you have a trade-off.
Right.
Well, what is more important to the organization? And again, what is more important to the employees?
Mhm.
How much disruption is this going to be?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Now, if you're doing that at the self-checkout kiosks, 100%,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Scan your own goods. Yes.
right? And scan
Yep.
each one,
Yes.
more importantly.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that with the person who's checking you out, is there an opportunity for both to coexist?
Right.
So those are the types of things up front you can back test
Yes.
or user experience test before you put it into operation.
Mhm.
And that's where the consultant can have those conversations, summarize the trade-offs
Yeah.
with each option, bring that to leadership, and even bring it to the team to make a recommendation and take that to leadership to get final sign-off.
Yes, yes. Hence, your consultant is a leader. They have that direct linkage to the stakeholders, as you call them. And so it's sometimes easier to talk to a consultant than it is to a CEO. Hey, consultant Sean, this isn't working for me, and this is why. Oh, thanks for raising that. Let me bring it into the project and see what we can do about it. Consultants seem to be more open to those recommendations and changes. Not that CEOs aren't, but they don't know how to put that into practice necessarily, or how that works in the entire system, where the consultant should know how that works into the entire system. CEO doesn't need to know that.
And they don't necessarily need to know Sean brought this idea forward if Sean is not one who wants
Mhm.
to be tagged with the idea,
Yep.
right? You got to remember in certain types of industries, there's a huge gap between where leadership is and the folks who are doing the job day to day.
Mhm.
And the day to day folks may be too intimidated by leadership,
Yep.
different topic. So there creates a bit of anonymity and protection and safe spaces
Mhm.
for the consultant to be able to take that information, as you say,
Yeah.
distill it down, present it properly to leadership for consideration.
Mhm. Yeah. And just one other point on working with small businesses versus large. I do really like working with small businesses because as a consultant coming in, we have the ability to implement quickly and remove it quickly if it doesn't work, right? So there's that speed factor that is valuable in small businesses because hey, we'll try this for a month and if it doesn't work, we'll pull it back, or we'll try it on one client and pull it back, where there's not such the infrastructure as there often is in larger organizations to make change and impact change. So sometimes working with small businesses, I love it because it's like, hey, have you tried this? No, I haven't, but I'm open to it. Okay, let's give it a whirl. So there's that flexibility too, which is kind of cool as a consultant.
100%. And believe it or not, failing fast is something that all organizations should strive for
Yes.
because it gives you that opportunity to be able to test something quickly,
Yep.
right? Do a proof of concept, put it out there, see if it works, whether or not it actually hits the market,
Mhm.
but if it at least hits your employees, right? And then this is where things like user stories or proof of concepts,
Yeah.
tools like Figma and Miro, where you can sketch something out and show people the path and then get their feedback
Mhm.
before you spend a ton of money
Right.
in systems and processes and technology. If you can do some of that stuff quickly, you will know what works, what doesn't, where the points of failures are. You can tweak it, you can correct it, you can scrap it,
Mhm.
or you can run it through and then make that the gold standard going forward.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. I'm implementing a PM tool with clients right now, and it's very interesting to see how everything interacts with each other. And, is it going to work for the business owner? Is it going to work for the team? What are the processes we put in place to make this work? So, as easy as it sounds to let's just put in a PM tool, it's really not, because you want to make sure it works for everyone who's using it. So there is a
100%.
large piece of, trial and error here to get it put into place. So
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
it's fun, in my opinion.
It
And
is.
for
It is.
consultants, I guess.
I think everybody is a consultant to some degree,
Yeah.
and your job may require more presentation and interaction with leadership to advance change versus others. But if you're in the consulting business, being able to provide that thought leadership, being able to zoom in, to zoom out, have that strategic thinking cap on, present things well, show the actionable insights, all of those things are going to be key so that you're the person they want to come back to time and time again.
Nice. Yes. Come in and show that you're bringing value. You're not
100%.
just there to do a job. You're bringing value to me, to the organization, and to my team.
100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean. What a great conversation today. What a good and valuable consultant looks like. So, again, as you know, you can find myself, Heather Smockum, on www.lotusoms.com or LinkedIn. And you can find my partner, Sean Beharry, on LinkedIn as well. Leave a like or a comment, and we'd love to hear from you. So, thanks for taking the time to listen, and let's keep the buzz going.
Let's keep that buzz going.